What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. 88 Fitness Live every Sunday at 12 Eastern Time. Today we're talking about progressively overload. Explain how to properly and progressive overload.
But first, updates, y'all. All right, what updates do we have for them, James?
We installed the Smith machine yesterday.
In fact, right before this, I was dropping some photos in the community section, kind of showing the chaos around that. So give me a few minutes after live and I'll get those posted for you. But it's always an interesting experience when you are taking some big, heavy equipment and trying to put it together.
If you've ever had the pleasure of putting commercial gym equipment together, ooh, baby.
At least it's robust, I guess.
It is definitely robust. It is all big. It is all heavy. It is all awkward. But we got her done. Myself, Camille, and Kylie, my daughter, helped us out.
Yeah.
So we got it in. We got it done. So now we got a Smith machine.
In fact, we had our first client use it this morning, which is pretty exciting.
Kylie's on. What's up, Kylie?
All right. Well, today's topic is all about... Oh, you have more updates?
Yeah.
Oh, well, what do you got for us?
So I told you last week I had the opportunity presented itself, so I had to cut for a week. I got down to 214, which is what I weighed this morning, 214 pounds, down from 220. But we took the videos, we took the pictures, so now it's back to bulk. Yeah, back to bulk. So I'll walk myself back up to 220 and then hit pause.
Right.
And bulk from there.
How you feeling? Like, could you tell you took those few pounds off?
Yes. I'm probably going to get crushed for this, but I'm not a very good bulker.
He's terrible.
I don't like the feeling of fat. I don't like when my abs fade. Big T's on. What's up, Big T?
I mean, I think you and a lot of people can relate to the whole ab fading thing.
I don't like when the abs fade. I don't like when the clothes are tight. I'm not a big fan of bulking, I'll probably get crushed for that, but.
I mean, but there's something to say, like, your max is 20 pounds over your stage weight, and there's really no reason to go beyond 20 pounds over your stage weight anyway. So I don't think that that's really that big of an issue.
Yeah, and I'm barely comfortable at 20 pounds over. Matter of fact, I'm not. I told you my shirt off weight is 215. My max bulk weight is 220, so I'm not even comfortable at the bulk weight.
Right. So what did you do different this week while you were cutting that you're going to kind of reverse and go back to next week?
Good question. My bulk calories were at 4,000 calories.
Woo, baby, that's a lot of food.
It is. I cut back to 2,300 all week, and that got me a 6-pound drop.
Okay. I
did cardio 4 days a week, lifted my regular lift routine.
How much cardio were you doing?
40 minutes to an hour, depending on what time I got up out of bed and how much time I had to give.
Yeah.
I had dedicated a half hour every day, no matter what, but I was up early enough. I got more than that, in between 45 minutes and an hour every day.
Nice. Well, awesome. Any other updates that we have for today?
I believe that covers the updates, unless you have one.
No, I see we got a question there. Please give insights on cut. How not to lose muscle mass? Is cardio high intensity or just low? Do you suggest fasted cardio? That is a really great question.
That's a lot of great questions. Yeah. That might be next week's topic. What do you think?
Yeah, let me take a picture of that or write that down just so we can talk about that next week.
Great question. Loheath. I'm sorry if I messed your name up. Loheath, great question. Thanks for the question. Stay tuned next week. We will get it in. Native Grit and Big T's on. What's up, Native Grit? Yeah. Big T, did any foods change during your bulk? That's a great question as well, T. I manipulated my carbs. So I went from breads and pastas to vegetables and fruit.
And protein, yeah.
Right. So the carbs were less calories already from switching over from bread and pasta to, fruits and veggies. And then I already had the calorie cut on top of that. So it allowed me to eat a little bit more because they're lower in calories.
Right.
And I could get in a little bit more.
I mean, probably the biggest difference is he had to cut back on the peanut butter, Big T. I mean, and if you look at how much fat's in peanut butter, it makes sense because he's cutting back calorically. So taking the peanut butter out, which has, the 9 calories per gram of fat in there, made a lot of sense. and it's pretty effective.
Yeah, I definitely cut back on peanut butter too. And if y'all saw my wound right there,
Oh, the Smith machine bites.
the Smith machine bites.
All right.
All right.
So I see we have a lot of people on. Today we're going to talk about progressive overloading. So we're going to take you through, like, what does that mean? What are the proper techniques for doing that? Does it matter, if you're a beginner, intermediate, advanced?
Yeah.
So we'll take you through everything you need to know about what that means. But as we say always, we're here for you guys. So if there's any questions that we might make it a live, just like the one we just had to talk about in the time that we have.
But I love that topic, and you hit a lot of great questions with that topic, Lohith. That's great.
Yeah, and Lohith, it's a great time of year because as we hit January, a lot of people are looking to kind of shut off some of that winter poundage that they added through the holidays. So next week we'll go all through that for sure.
Big T said peanut butter is life.
Peanut butter is life. All right, so progressive overload. When we say progressive overload, we are really talking about a way to challenge your muscles so they keep growing. So in short, if you are not going into the gym and constantly challenging yourself and making it more difficult for yourself, your muscles have no reason to respond, react, and grow bigger.
Right. Your muscles don't want to grow bigger.
Right.
You heard of homeostasis? That's where your body wants to stay. 98.6 degrees, no muscle mass added, no sickness. They want homeostasis. Your body wants homeostasis. It doesn't want change.
Right.
It wants to stay the same. You have to force the change. And to do that is progressive overload. This is a fun topic. We're going to get into some fun stuff. But please, if you have a question, fire away.
Yeah, Mike Mentor always had a great analogy. He talks about it in kind of terms of getting a sunburn. And he's like, if the sun was always the same, you were the same, you would go out and you would not get a sunburn. But the moment the intensity changes, like let's say you're up in the mountain, so you're kind of closer to the sun in elevation, you're going to get a sunburn because that stimulus, that intensity changed.
More intense.
So your body is trying to adapt and help you. So next time you don't get sunburned in that case. And it's the same thing with trying to grow your muscles.
That is the adaptation. It's a suntan until you go too far. Then it's a sunburn. Right.
Yeah. So I really love that analogy from Mike Mentor. But yeah, that's what we're really here to talk about today. Our whole channel, if you're looking through our videos for 88 Fitness Training, we are geared towards hypertrophy.
Yeah.
Like we're all about how do I, make muscle mass, keep that muscle mass, and have that overall really aesthetic look.
Everybody wants bigger muscles. What are you talking about? Nobody's going to the gym to get smaller muscles. Come on, man.
Right. So when we're talking about progressive overload, we're really talking about gradually increasing that demand on your muscles to stimulate true muscle growth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's fun topic to talk about because it's not just about lifting heavy weights at the gym. It's really about that consistent progression over time. And I think the word time there, a lot of people just forget about, and they really focus on tossing around of heavy weights. But that's not really what progressive overload's all about.
We got another great question. I'm not even going to try to say your name. I apologize. It says, is max muscle the same as max strong or strength? Great question.
That's a great question.
No, they are completely different things. You can see big, muscly guys that aren't very strong. And you can see guys that have little to no kind of muscle anywhere in their body, and they're stronger than strong. It's completely different workout. It's completely different. I mean, it's two different sports, really. You got powerlifting, you got bodybuilding. You train differently. You look differently. Everything's different.
But there is a slight correlation, though. Like the stronger you are, the heavier weights you can lift, which is going to play a part in the progressive overload that we're actually going to talk about today. So there is a correlation. However, like James said, you can clearly walk into the gym and see someone with next to nothing in terms of muscles, and they're like, deadlifting or power cleaning some serious weight, and you're like, whoa, like what happened there?
How's that possible?
Right.
We got another question. Tito, thanks for tuning in, Tito. 53-year-old guy with some experience in the gym. Would you suggest higher weights, lower reps, or lower weights, higher reps? Great question. Probably depends on your goal.
Mm-hmm.
The higher reps, I mean, we'll talk rep range real quick. 1 to 5 is for strength.
Right.
6 to 12 is for hypertrophy. Anything over 20 is for endurance. So you got 3 options you can do there, depending on what your goal is.
Right. So Tito, like the older me and James get, the more we are kind of shying towards lighter weights and slightly higher rep ranges, just because it really beats up our body and our joints to really toss around like grotesque levels of weight. Yeah. But sometimes it's a balancing act. So maybe I have a couple lifts where I am lifting that grotesque amount, but my other workouts later that week are not like that. So I think you can kind of give and take a little bit to have a good balance of both.
All right. And he followed up. It's a hypertrophy question.
Yes.
Great question. And I'm going to say pretty much repeat what Camille said. I'm 48. You're 53. So we're close there. I will do probably 1 or 2 heavy exercises as opposed to doing all super heavy now. But now I'll cut them back 1 to 2 heavy and then go to an isolation move, which is a little bit lighter weight.
Yeah. So Michael has a follow-up question sort of related. As we get older, should we reduce the number of sets for each body part?
Great question, Mike. Great question. You have a couple options. You can reduce frequency, which is what you got there. I'm sorry, you can take more rest days by reducing frequency, or you can reduce volume, which is what you're asking. You can do either one.
I like taking more rest days, Michael. And then the other thing is I like focusing on the quality of my sets. Like I am there to work, so I'm not going to do a lot of junk volume that's not going to yield the hypertrophy I'm looking for. Yep. So think really quality, good form, like good rep tempos and all of that. And if you go in and do that, then you can keep the sets pretty low and not have to do all of this volume.
We're getting some good questions, baby. Lohi says, is 2 to 3 sets really enough for hypertrophy? What if I could do 2 to 3 sets more, which you just kind of talked about? Should I really do it or cut it off and move on to the next muscle?
I love this question.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, so Lohith, I was always in the camp of like, hey, you want to do like 4 to 5 sets. Like you need to, have a good amount of volume there. And as I started doing more of a Mike Menzer style, I realized, you know what? You can go in and hit 1 to 2 all out high intensity sets and walk away and be done. And if you're trying to do more than that, it's at that point junk volume.
I'm going to go even further. You could do 1 set. It's like turning on a light switch, right? When you turn the light on, you turn it 1 time. You don't have to do this to turn the light on.
Right.
It's the same with your muscles. When you tell your body, it's time to build muscles with the 1 set, 1 breakthrough set, you just turn the light on. You don't have to turn it off and turn it back on again. That's junk volume, like Camille said. But if you can't, there's definitely buts. If you can't do it in 1 set, absolutely do 2, do 3. You're going to have to go to a grotesque, intense level to do it in 1 set, and not everybody has that ability.
Right. In fact, when I'm training my clients and they're asking for that advice and they're training on their own, I will tell them, go ahead and do 3 to 5 sets, because I know that, they're probably not hitting that grotesque level that I know they can when they're training in person with me.
Right.
So you have to be a little cautious of that.
And know your body. And once you hit that breakthrough set, we've talked about it, out of body experience, stop.
Yeah.
Anything after that's going to be junk volume.
Right.
All you're doing is burning calories and making yourself longer recovery period. Once you break through, you're good.
Yeah. I would caveat though, make sure that breakthrough is nice. It's clean. Like you actually did it with good form, good technique, and all that. And if that's not the case, well, then maybe you do a back off set. And we'll talk actually about that today with the progressive overload.
Terrence, rocking and rolling.
Yeah, Terrence has a question for you.
Sure. Okay. Can you explain the concept of a hard gainer and who this would benefit towards? Okay. So hard gainer was a big term they used in the 90s. Unfortunately, after using it a couple years, everybody was a hard gainer, because guess what? Gains are hard. I don't care how good your genetics are. I don't care how hard you're going. Gains are hard. They're still hard. Even with great genetics and consistency and doing everything right, they're still hard. So, Terrence, to answer your question, everybody's a hard gainer, brother. There's no differentiation. Everybody's going to train the same, whether you're a hard gainer, slow gainer. But genetics is going to be your key role with who's gaining faster than who.
You got it. Nave Grit says intensity. You are right, my man.
Yes, you are.
All right, we have another one. Slow negative is for strength and fast reps for muscle. Interesting. I don't think it applies either way, but
I've never heard any of that.
Yeah.
I've never read any of that. Slow negatives is absolutely part of the perfect rep. And a fast rep for muscle, no way.
Nope, time under tension.
Yeah, you don't want to go fast in your reps. You want to go smooth. You want to lift the weight smoothly, lower it smoothly, slowly, and squeeze the isometric hold in the middle. That's your perfect rep. I can't think of anything why you would want to do fast reps.
Not
Maybe
for muscle.
CrossFit or Olympic lifting is about the only thing where you want the momentum snapping up with fast reps.
Yeah.
Other than that, no, man, no.
All right. John says, hey guys, do you recommend having your heels elevated on a plate while doing squats to target more quads more? I think that's a good strategy, John. I think with the quads, it's really going to be more about the range of motion and getting the maximum amount of stretch on the quad. So if the only way for you to do that is to have the heels elevated, then absolutely. I know for me, John, that's a must because I can't really break parallel and be comfortable and get back up to do the squat. So having the heels elevated or doing a hack squat allows me to target the quads a lot better than just flat-footed.
Yeah. Good answer. Lothie's got another one. Can I use soreness as an indicator to measure how well I trained yesterday? Because sometimes even if I'm training with the same intensity, I don't feel
anything
the next day.
I swear this was it last week? We actually talked about this. It was a couple weeks ago. But no, soreness is not a good indicator of hypertrophy, y'all. So just toss that out the window.
A lot of studies are coming back saying that your fascia is getting sore. Actually, it's not even your muscle tissue; it's the tissue between your muscles that's getting sore. Maybe because they're swelling up. We hope, right? But a lot of times it's not. It's not even an indicator. It's just, I can go walk 13 miles. I'm going to be sore tomorrow. Did I make any hypertrophy gains? I did not. No.
Right. For sure.
I'm sore from putting up the Smith machine yesterday.
I know,
did
me
I
too.
make any hypertrophy gains? No, I did not.
Probably not.
All right, we got another one. Is creatine safe? I'm 45 and never used it. 100% safe. It is the most tested supplement out there, and they have yet to come back with a negative side effect. So go for it. I highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. You should absolutely take your creatine.
In fact, 2 weeks ago, we talked about the best mass building supplement. So if you go back into our live playlist, you can take a look at that and you can find more information in there about it. Because we talked.
Guess what number one is?
Yeah, number one is creatine.
Tito, he said, love the isolation exercise and really felt the pump. That's outstanding, Tito. Thanks for sharing, brother. We appreciate it. That's awesome feedback. Appreciate that very much. I love it. He did our isolation, one of the isolation videos, and then he did the workout, and it was awesome.
All right.
That's outstanding.
All right, y'all, let's shift gears back to talking about progressive overload.
Keep firing the questions.
Yeah, keep them coming, though. As I indicated earlier, just increasing the weight that you're lifting is not all about progressive overload. There's actually more to it. There's more techniques to it than just adding heavier weight each time.
So, there's black and white, and then there's some gray area. Adding weight is black and white.
Sure.
That is 100% a way to progressive overload. Is it the only way?
Right. No. Right. I mean, if that's the case, then everybody be walking around. There wouldn't be enough weights at the gym for you to actually lift. So think of that, and then that starts to make more sense why there has to be more to progressive overload than just the sheer amount of weight that you're actually lifting.
All right. We got a couple more questions. How do you feel about isometric workout? Complete isometric workout, I'd have to say no, but it is part of your perfect rep.
Right.
When you lift the weight, you're lifting it. When you hold it, that's isometric hold. You should do that every rep and squeeze, and then you lower it slowly. That's the negative part. That's a perfect rep. There are times you can use isometric holds as an intensity technique.
Absolutely.
But to do a whole entire workout of isometric holds, I think you can do better than that.
Yeah. John's got a question. Do you switch exercises every now and then, or do you stick to the same exercises, just concentrate on progressive overload on those?
Great question, John Jay. So for me, I will give the exercise at least 8 weeks of progressive overload to give it a chance to progressively overload with that exercise. If I did a bench press and then the next week I went to flies, then I'm going back to bench press. I don't know if I'm progressive overload or not. I just took 2 weeks off. I should be able to do the same weight or more weight, but you should give the exercise at least 8 weeks of progressive overload to do its thing.
Yeah, I'll do the same thing. So whether I'm doing a barbell bench press or dumbbell, I'll do 8 to 12 weeks with one, then switch to the other. On my leg days, I do alternate between squats and deadlifts. I mean, there are two really big, nasty lifts, and that's just how I personally like to do it. So one week is my squat focused week where I'm trying to progressive overload the squat. The next week's the deadlift. I still do both in the workout, but I have to prioritize which one I want to try to hit because they're too taxing. Yep. All right, another question for us. Any comments on plateaus? The time I took to go from 30 to 60 pound bench press was really fast, but now to increase to 70 is taking a lot of time.
Great question, though, Heath. And this would be one of those times where you might want to change your exercise up and then come back to the one you're doing 70 with. 8 weeks from now, after doing a similar exercise, like Camille said, instead of barbell bench press, go to dumbbell bench press for 8 weeks and then come back. I don't know if you heard my story. I told it on live at some point, probably years ago. When I was in the Army, I was stuck at 225 pound bench press for 3 years. So first year in the Army, I could get it for 1. I was active duty for 3 years. At the end of my active duty, I could get it for 10. So it took me literally 3 years to go from 1 rep at 225 pounds to 10. It takes time. You're going to get stronger, but it definitely takes time.
So we actually have a playlist. I think we went through some of the major popular lifts and how to bust past plateaus. So like on the chest press or bench press, for instance, like where is your sticking point? Like if it's down in the hole, then that might be weak triceps, and you could do like a pin press or something like that to try to strengthen the area that's lagging. But we have an entire video that targets that particular exercise.
Yeah, busting plateaus. We got a playlist, I believe.
Yeah, so that was a great question. Native Grit says, fast, uncontrolled reps can end up in Snap City. Yes, you were right.
100%. You know, that's why you don't want to do fast reps. You're asking for an injury, especially if you're a little bit older and trying to do fast reps. Nice, controlled, time under tension. Let the muscle do the work. You don't want momentum doing the work anyway. You're cheating yourself. So take it slow, controlled, let the muscle do the work. Great answer, by the way. It was in kilograms. Okay, Lohis lifting in kilograms.
Yes.
No problem, man. No problem.
All right. So if just lifting heavy weights is not the only way to progressive overload, what are some other techniques? Michael kind of alluded to this earlier in his question, but you can increase the volume in which you're lifting. So volume is really the amount of sets with the amount of reps and the amount of weight. Yep. So you have a lot of versatility that you can manipulate in there to increase the total volume in that training day.
You could do one more set. And that's progressive overload.
Right. A lot of times, too, you could do maybe some type of back offset or use a strategy like as many reps as possible on your last set. So that's another way you can just squeeze in some more reps, too. Just remember, like, they need to be quality reps. So I think that really makes a difference.
And again, that's black and white. Add a set.
Sure.
Add weight, add a set. So far, we're black and white. We're easy.
Right. The key there, though, I think, is to gradually increase that volume, because if all of a sudden you go in and you're like, I added 2 sets, like you're going to end up maybe overtrained. So you do need to be careful and be really gradual, be really methodical about what it is that you added to increase the volume.
And make sure it's not junk volume.
Right.
If you're smoked and you already did your breakthrough set, you don't need to add another set or another exercise. Make sure it's not junk volume.
Right. But if it wasn't your breakthrough set, I actually like the whole as many reps as possible strategy. It's a great way to add volume in and take it to that failure point, which is giving you the intensity that you need to have that muscle adaptation and grow.
Indeed. Yeah. And Mo, he said, there's ego workout and there's proper workout. Not the heavy, but the light and right. Well said, baby.
It is hard sometimes, you guys. Like, you are all hyped up on your pre-workout in there. Like, you've been your own hype man. Like, I got to go in and like crush these numbers and progressive overload. So sometimes you really do have to say, wait a minute, that set I just did was not right. Like, let me stop and like come back and do it right.
Yep. And form is always first, just like you said. If you can't do it with the right form, lighten the weight and fix your form.
Yes, junk volume does not give you extra muscle, y'all. I had to learn this, well, not the hard way, but I trained for years where it was like, I'm going to do like 4 to 5 sets, regardless of how intense they are. Like, I'd already got my PR and like, well, that was only set 3. So let me do 2 more sets. Like, that didn't make sense. And I was actually overtrained a lot. Like, I was beat up a lot.
Yeah. So a great way to think about it, Heath, is how far can you walk, right? Walk is pretty low intensity exercise. It's an exercise, but you can walk pretty darn far, right? Go ahead and do an all out 100% sprint. Tell me how far you go. You can walk a whole lot farther than you're going to sprint. Right. Same thing in the weight room. If you're going intense and you're going hard, you're not going to be able to go very long. And once you hit that breakthrough set, go home.
Right.
You don't need to jump volume.
Yeah. In fact, changing the intensity level is another way for you to progressive overload. So, there's different strategies you can use to get that intensity, but switching from training like each muscle, like how many times you're training them can help with the intensity. Splitting up the volume across like multiple sessions could help like increase your intensity. Actually, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. I'm talking frequency, but
what you're talking about.
Yeah, right let me reset. So lifting heavier weights, obviously one method. There's techniques you can do like drop sets, supersets, cluster sets to increase intensity. Right. We're a big superset fan. If you look at some of our playlists, especially some of our older playlists, we love doing supersets that add the intensity.
Yes, and this is the gray area, right?
Right.
This isn't black and white. These are intensifying techniques. They 100% work. They're 100% progressive overload, but they're gray area. So you're going to write drop set or you're going to write superset. It's a gray area. It's not black or white. Hey, add a set. Hey, add a weight. Right. Those are black and white. These are gray areas, but they do work.
Yeah, like especially with the supersets, some people like to use them with like an antagonist. So like, maybe you were training triceps, one exercise for triceps, one for biceps. If it was like your arm day, if we're trying to add intensity, I would actually pick 2 exercises that target the bicep or 2 exercises that target the tricep, because we're trying to overload and intensify whatever prime muscle mover that we're talking about. So doing the whole antagonist thing is not doing that necessarily. So just keep that in mind on how you build your superset.
Right. We're talking about progressive overload. So I would superset the same muscle to progressively overload it. If you're doing you can say
antagonist.
If you're doing it that way, it is a different technique. It's not going to be a progressive overload technique. All right. We got a couple more questions. John J says, I've been stuck at 165 for 6 reps, flat bench press for 2 months. 2 months, excuse me. Just can't seem to progress. Any tips on how to get stronger at this? Absolutely, brother. First, I'm going to assume you're not overtrained. Second, I'm going to assume your workout split is good, so you don't do shoulders the day before you do chest.
Yes, it's a big one.
Or triceps. I'm making those assumptions. Heavy negatives would be my advice to you. So you can do 165 for 6. I would put 300 pounds on the bar and do 4 negatives every single chest day at the end of your workout.
Get a partner.
Negatives mean your workout partner is going to lift the weight because you physically cannot lift the weight. You're just going to lower it slowly. Just the negative portion. Lower it slowly. Your body, your nervous system is going to say, oh, okay, we're going to have to lift this weight. They're going to get used to the weight.
Right.
And eventually you're going to get stronger from that. You don't give your body a choice when you do it that way. Native Grit says, have you ever done your rack math wrong and lifted more weight? Hey, sometimes we need to get out of our own head. That makes 100% sense. I won't even tell my clients how much they're lifting until they're done, because there's a mental block in so many people's heads that you say 300 pounds out loud, they go, oh, no, I can't lift that. But if they don't know it's 300 pounds and they lift it and you tell them you just lifted 300 pounds, they go, oh, what? Oh, I'm
But
strong.
along the same lines of what Native Grit's saying, I've kind of done it the reverse way where like I thought it was more weight because I did the math wrong and it wasn't. And I am notorious for counting my reps wrong.
Yeah.
Like even if I say them out loud, it's like I count on both the down and the up or something. And James be like, you know, you only did 7 reps. I'm like, no, that was 10.
Check the video.
So yeah, that's been very disappointing before when you think it's your all out breakthrough set and you're like,
I mean, so many people have a mental block. It's you know, this is with female clients with me. I'll put 6 plates on the leg press and they go, there's no freaking way I'm lifting that. And I go get in there and do 20 and they knock out 20 like it's nothing. I'm going, see,
yeah,
you have a mental block because you see 6 plates on there. But once you get in there and do it, it's not that heavy.
right.
Don't have mental blocks, y'all. Many, many, many people suffer from that. Good point, Native Grit. Big T.
Yeah, Terrence.
How many sets would you recommend for warm-up exercise to get the blood flow? Good question. So for me, T, I'll do probably 2 warm-up sets, and then I'll do the breakthrough set.
I mean, I think it's very individual, though, Big T. Like, you do as many as necessary, but you don't. And you know, a warm-up set could be 1 or 2 reps. It doesn't have to be the full training range. So keep that in mind, too. I know depending on the lift you're doing, sometimes the grotesque amount of weight is just too heavy. So it might take you 3-4 sets, but you're probably not doing like 6 to 12 reps when you're doing the warm-up sets. You're just kind of getting a feel for how heavy that weight is, 1, 2, 3 reps. So think about that too.
Angel said, I like to use light to medium weight with high reps, and once in a while, I'll go ahead.
I like that, Angel. I like that.
Some days you're feeling strong, some days you're not. But that's good. I mean, that's as long as you're progressively overloading with your light and medium weights, it's still good. And there's also techniques like superset drop sets where you don't have to use the heavy weights, right?
Right.
All right. A personal one. You look awesome at this age. Are you natty? Thanks, Slow Heath. First of all, I cannot speak if I'm natty or not. When I can, I will. But right now, I cannot speak. We've gone over this before. John J., how would you gauge what weight to lift your warm-up working sets? They're about, for me, it's 50 to 80% of my working set.
Right. Be half rep.
Shouldn't be a half rep. You want to warm up your full range of motion.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Good question, though. As long, you know, for me, I do the exercise I'm going to do usually 2 warm-up set, 50 to 70, 80% of my max. And then the breakthrough will be at 100%.
Yeah. You know, sometimes if you have injuries or things too, like you need to take that into consideration as well. And that might dictate how long the warm-up is before trying to progressively overload.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, injuries make it a whole new ballgame.
All right. So we talked about progressive overload could be lifting really heavy weights and increasing that each time. We talked about it could be just intensifying like what you're doing, changing the volume. Another option is the frequency. Like how often are you hitting that muscle group? I know me and James have pretty strong opinions on that though. We usually will say like, hey, if you can like say train legs 3 times a week, how intense did you go in the other sessions? But again, there might be a reason why you do back off that intensity and you still want a progressive overload. So maybe hitting it that 2-3 times a week makes more sense for you. You just have to be careful because sometimes that leads to overuse injuries, especially when we're talking things like shoulders or smaller muscle groups that have a lot of articulating parts.
Yeah, I remember the day Camille said she's going to do shoulders 3 times a week. And I said, it sounds like a shoulder injury. What happened 2 weeks later?
Yeah, that weight lift for shoulder like crept in and what do you know? Like it was just too much frequency there.
And again, if you can do legs 3 times a week, you're not doing them hard enough.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
All right. We have another comment from John. Not the first time. I've only got 6 reps on the first set. Yeah.
No, it's most likely a mental block, John J. I read many years ago in I think it was Flex magazine, your last set, everybody does their most reps on their last set.
Right.
It's because it's a mental block. You know you're done after this set, so you give it all you got on your last set, knock it out. That's why a lot of people, Dorian Yates preaches only do 1 set. You know, subconsciously you're saving up for the next set. whether you're doing it consciously or unconsciously, you're saving up for the next set. When you know it's your last set, give it all you got.
Yeah, in fact, clients will ask a lot. They'll be like, how many more sets? I'm like, does it matter? And like, if they just gave me the intensity, I probably would say we're done. Like, you hit it. Like, we're not doing it again. So it's just an interesting thing. James is absolutely right.
Yeah. Tito, great question. Bench press. I always feel my triceps pumping like crazy.
Yes.
Very little pump on the pecs. Advice. I got great advice for you, brother. Superset with flies. So do 10 flies and then do your 10 bench press. Your triceps are probably dominant, so they're just taking over. They're so strong, they're just taking over. So if you pre-exhaust your chest before you go in there, you should feel chest more. Yeah,
the other thing too, like sometimes bench press, you can't get the range of motion, so switching to a dumbbell allows you to get better stretch across those pecs.
Yep.
So that could be a strategy as well.
Good advice, yes. You should feel the dumbbells a little bit better as well.
Yeah.
How do you feel about drinking water during the workout? You should be drinking water during the workout. They've done studies where your performance goes down if you're not drinking water during your workout. You start to dehydrate. So hydrate during your workout is 100%. I usually take a sip in between every set.
I do too. I mean, even just speaking and breathing, you are getting dehydrated in that process, let alone the actual lifting that you're doing. So most people are actually dehydrated, which is a huge hindrance if we're trying to actually grow muscle. So keep that in mind for sure.
Jay said, treat every set like it's your last. Right. I might steal that, John Jay.
I like that, John.
But yes, treat every set like it's your last. I'm sure you've seen the saying or the hashtag or the t-shirts, extend your set. Never end your set. These are all along the same lines. Go as hard as you can on that set. Don't worry about your next one.
Yeah. So another technique for progressive overloading is improving exercise efficiency, trying to keep us on track. So, progress doesn't always mean more. Sometimes it can mean better. So that means making sure you're doing the right form, optimizing your technique, making sure you're getting the most muscle activation you can during that exercise. And this is just something where you have to pay attention, maybe look in the mirror, film yourself, and you have to be willing to call yourself out and be like, that rep I just did was BS, which can be hard to do.
It is hard, but you need to do it. All right. Would you guys recommend hitting every muscle group twice a week? John Jay. Good question, brother. Everybody's different, but I'm going to say it again. If you can do legs more than once a week, you're not doing them hard enough. My legs stay sore for literally 5 days. And then they're a little sore on 6th day, 100% recovered on 7th day, and then I hit them again. So if you're recovering, I would say, yeah, it's okay, but you got to be going harder. And if you're progressive overloading, you're probably going to be too sore to hit them twice a week.
All right. We have another question. I can't give 100% for biceps on a back day because it's already sore because of compound exercises. Is this normal or makes sense to train different muscle groups like shoulders since buys are already pumped?
Okay, so this is 100% normal. My biceps get sore on back day.
Sure.
I don't train anything but back on back day. I would highly recommend you only train back on back day. It's a big muscle with a lot of parts.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough to do 2 different body parts and get a thorough back workout.
In fact, like if I hit my back day on like Tuesday or Wednesday, I won't hit arm day until Friday or Saturday just to give enough time for the biceps to recover because James is right. Like, especially me and him are always trying to get bigger lats. And anytime you're training lats, you're probably doing some kind of underhand reverse grip or close grip. And that's a lot of bicep activation. So I
talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I went to Planet Fitness to train arms, bis and tris, and I did 1 set of preacher curls, and I was still sore from back day. I did back 2 days before that. So I chopped it up and went home. I was too sore to get a workout, so I took another rest day.
All right. Angel has a question. Push-ups before doing bench for a warm-up helps target the chest for me.
Not a question, but push-ups are a great warm-up, 100%. As a matter of fact, that's a great usage of push-ups for a warm-up. Oh, great. John Jay, if you had a group chest with another muscle, what would it be? Chest and shoulders. My shoulder press is a little weaker because of the chest pressing.
Mm.
Number one, I would leave chest by itself. Just
Right.
like back, it's a big muscle.
Right.
You're gonna, it's hard to do two muscles together, especially
Right.
when one of them's big.
Yeah.
If I did have to pair them, I would do either shoulders or triceps, probably shoulders.
Yeah.
But I would recommend you do it on its own.
It's a nice segue because, like you said, John, like your shoulders are usually getting pretty decent work with any type of pressing motion that you're doing on your chest day.
Yep.
So you can easily work that in. And I think that would be great.
Yes. But remember, you want a thorough chest workout.
Yes.
It's going to be hard to get a thorough chest and shoulder workout.
And I also kind of believe you can't say I'm skipping shoulder day because I did chest day. I think you do need a little more shoulder than that. But great question for sure.
Great questions.
All right. So we talked through the different techniques. Let's talk a little bit about, advanced lifters and progressive overload. A couple of you kind of alluded to this. I've been lifting for a long time. Like, it's really hard to keep progressive overloading, especially if your technique is just by increasing weight. So there are some strategies for our advanced lifters out there. I would say, a really great one is tempo manipulation. So trying to slow down that eccentric phase is a great way to kind of get more time under tension, which is a technique for progressive overload.
Yeah, that's a good one. You can cut your time down in between sets as well. That's another way to progressive overload.
Like little rest time, you're saying?
Correct. You're doing the same exact workout, but instead of taking 45-second rest, now you're going to take a 30-second rest.
Right.
That's a way to progressive overload as well. And we got another question. What's a good split for a skinny guy, Mr. Toasters? There's a couple different ones, brother. If you're coming off the couch, push-pull is probably your best bet. If you're not coming off the couch, you're intermediate advanced, you need to do a 5-day split, one body part a day.
Yeah. So Mr. Toasters, James had a push-pull split series that
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago that was out. So definitely check that out if that's what you're interested in. Other techniques for our advanced lifters that want a progressive overload, and James likes this one, is rest pause.
You're welcome. Yes, rest pause is very nasty. It's one of the best intensifying techniques you can do. If you don't know what rest pause is, you put your max weight, maximum 1 rep max. So mine's around 400 pounds for bench press, right? 405. I'll do the bench press 405, 1 rep. Boom, rack it, 10-second rest. Do it again. 10-second rest. Do it again. 10-second rest.
Right.
Do it again. So you're getting 4 reps with your maximum weight, and you better have a spotter.
Yeah, so that's one way to rest pause. I don't like to rest pause that way because I probably don't have a spotter most of the times I lift. So I like doing as many reps as possible and then taking a 10 to 20 second break and then hitting it again and again. And that's my version of rest pause, which is a little different than the way James likes to use it.
That's the weaker version. But it's a way to extend the set, which is progressive overload, and it's going to get you gains. It's another way to do it.
Yeah.
And it'll work. If anyone has trained legs with James, you're definitely not walking for a few days. That's right, Big T.
I think it's just pretty much if you trained with 88 Fitness training in general, because my clients say the same thing.
Legs are nasty, man. If you do it right, you're not going to be walking right for a couple days. Is rest pause the same as effective reps? I don't know what effective reps are.
I've never heard that term.
Explain what effective reps are, John Jay. We've never heard that one, brother.
Yeah.
Does that mean rest pause is also kind of powerlifters training? How come it is progressive overload? Great questions. It is almost like a powerlifting technique. However, a powerlifter would take 5-minute rest instead of a 10-minute rest. That's where the progressive overload comes in.
Right.
You're not fully recovered before you hit that max weight again. That's the progressive overload. If you took a 5-10-minute break, you're right, it wouldn't be progressive overload. You're doing powerlifting now. But since you're cutting the rest down to 10 seconds, that's where the progressive overload comes in.
Yeah, I also think it allows you to push past your failure point too. And that's another reason why that's progressive overload.
Right. By the 4th rep, you're going to need a spotter. Like I said, you might be able to get 3. You're not going to get 4. Not if it's your true max. Angel says compound movements are really good to try. I've tried the ones from your videos and they work. Heck yes, Angel, my man. We had the compound exercise videos a a couple weeks ago, and compound, and Angel liked it. Outstanding. Thank you for that feedback, Angel.
Yeah, anytime you can work compound exercises into your training regimen, we're going to highly advise that, especially for hypertrophy and especially for beginners or even intermediates. Like, you really can maximize your time in the gym by hitting those compounds first.
You want to get bigger, you want to get stronger, do compound moves.
Focus on the fundamentals, as James says.
It's the fundamentals of bodybuilding. Every sport has a fundamental. Compound exercises are the fundamentals of bodybuilding.
Yep, absolutely. All right, another technique for progressive overload for our advanced lifters is to incorporate partials into the rep sets.
Lengthen partials, y'all.
Well, key there, he said lengthen. So not partials in the shortened range of motion. Like, so if you're doing a bicep curl, it'd be this bottom half that you would want to do the partials. So you pretty much hit failure on whatever you're doing, but you can extend the set by hitting
the set. Go ahead.
And so that would be a form of progressive overload.
Yes. So after you hit failure with your full range of motion, you keep going, but you can't get a full rep because you failed. So you're doing half reps. You're doing quarter reps, extending the set. It's a nasty technique, and it works.
And as we say in our videos, you've heard us say it, muscle has the most potential for growth when it's stretched and under load. So doing those lengthened partials is a really good way to overload that muscle, leading to that adaptation that we're looking for, that hypertrophy. All right, John Jay's got an answer for us on what effective reps are. So he says, set 1, you lift a weight where you can fail around 10 to 12 reps. You rest 15, 20 seconds, then go to failure. Rest again, repeat until you get 20 reps. On the first set, don't count. Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of a similar technique.
Another rest pause technique. Yeah, you're just resting too long. But this is a different one. This looks like it's for endurance more so than hypertrophy.
Right.
Because you just keep going.
At some point, there's junk volume going on.
Right. You went from hypertrophy to endurance at some point in that set there.
Yeah. Great. I like it though, John Jay. I like it for sure.
Yeah. It is a rest pause. You're just resting a little bit too long, and you count your reps a little bit different than a traditional rest pause.
All right, well, let's shift gears now and talk about some common mistakes when it comes to trying to progressive overload and how you can avoid them. First and foremost, trying to overload too quickly. And I think it was it Native Grit said that kind of leads you to injury. Like if you're doing too much too fast, tossing the weight around, a lot of times that leads to like ego lifting, and you just can't do it. You're not going to build muscle at that point.
It's going to be frustrating too. If you're benching 190 and you're getting 10 clean reps, and then you put 225 on there and think you're going to get 10 clean reps, you're probably not going to. Go to 195 before you go to 200, before you go to 205, right? I mean, it sounds silly, but I've seen it over and over. Guys increase the weight by 100 pounds, and then they're like, why can't I lift it? Well, you just increased it by 100 pounds. That's why you can't lift it.
I mean, most of the time, there's those little Frisbees, y'all. They are 2.5 pounds. You can even add one of those on. I think sometimes the challenges are more with the isolation exercises. Like if you're trying to do dumbbell side raises for shoulders, right? Depending on your gym and what you have, you're going in 5-pound increments. If you're lucky, you have a gym that's got smaller increments, like 17.5-pound dumbbells and things like that.
Good luck.
But that can be a challenge. Some advice for that is maybe switch to cables. Sometimes you can go in smaller increments on cables or seated machines than you can with just the free weights.
Yeah.
So.
And it's going to frustrate you if you try to do it too fast, because it just doesn't happen. If it happened, everybody would do it that fast, right?
Right.
You got to give it time.
Yeah, I think another thing too is just neglecting the recovery and the nutrition while you're trying to do this. So James mentioned in the beginning, hey, he spent this week cutting because he has an opportunity. Now, if he went in and he's looking at his logbook and he's like, I got to add weight, I got to, keep going, he might not be able to do that because his nutrition doesn't support that goal. So you got to, make sure you're eating a healthy diet if your goal is to progressive overload.
Yeah, and if you're not recovering, you're not going to progressive overload anything. Matter of fact, you're going to go backwards. And that might be who had the bench per the 60 to 70 pound rep question. That might be your issue. You might be a little bit overtrained. So take a couple rest days and then come back and try to hit the 70 kilograms after 2 or 3 or even 4 rest days. If you hit it, that means you were overtrained. You need more rest.
All right.
We got a couple more questions.
A couple more questions.
Is hypertrophy achieved when a person's doing another set before he is completely recovered from previous set, or should he wait a few minutes until recovered and then go on to the next set? This is a good question. Hypertrophy is achieved through a couple different ways. The way you described it would be a way to do it. I mean, you're extending the set basically, so you're doing another set before you're recovered. That's an intensifying technique, but progressive overload, you can do the same sets and just add weight, and you're going to progressively overload, and it will achieve hypertrophy.
All right. John's other question is, what are both of your favorite strongest lifts?
Oh,
that's a good
my
question.
man. Good question. Good question. For me, it's got to be deadlift.
Yeah.
When I can do them healthy. Obviously, I can rack pull more than I can deadlift, but I like the lift better. I like the deadlift better than the rack pull.
Yeah, I like deadlifts too, but like I really love doing leg press, probably almost to the detriment of building leg muscles because I should be squatting and deading, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna PR on leg press today. But yeah, for me that's one of mine.
Who the heck picks leg press?
I don't know. It's fun, like trying to add the 45s on the side. Like I got up to 18 45-pound plates at one point. So I pegged out the pegs.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, we have a whole nother set of pegs on that particular sled, but hey, like that was just something that was a lot of fun for me.
That's a different one. Like all right. Angel said, if you're training for bodybuilder, you can't lift like a power lifter. You need to train for what you're trying to achieve. Well said, Angel. Well said. I mean, I can't tell you how many clients came in and said, I want to do hypertrophy, but I'm going to run a marathon.
Like, what?
I'm going, dude, you're going to have to pick one or the other. You're not going to do both at the same time. Train for what you want. That's fantastic advice, Angel. Well said.
Yeah.
All right, John J. How high should set up the rack up above the below the knee? Is that for rack pull?
I think it's for rack pulls.
Right above your knee, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, here it is, rack pull. Yep. Just right above the kneecap is right where you want to start your rack pull. Good question.
And there's even, depending on the setups, you can put plates to elevate you back up. Just be careful. Make sure they're not going to slide underneath your feet as you're doing the rack pull. Yeah. I do have a video out there. It's kind of like an alternative to rack pull. In fact, I actually did it with a client today where you're just using dumbbells and a bench to get a similar motion where you're taking the legs out of the equation there. Yes. But that's not really for building strength. That's more of working lower back and different muscle groups.
Yeah, John J., I have a rack pull video coming up on the shorts here, probably in a week or two.
Yeah, you do.
And you can see we have a half rack at the house, so I got to put plates down and stand on the plates in order to get that bar right above my knee. If we had a traditional power rack, you can adjust the rack to get it to where you need to be.
Right.
But check that short out in a couple weeks. You'll see I'm rack pulling right above my knee, but I set it up. I have to stand on plates to get there.
Great questions, y'all. Keep them coming.
These are really good questions. Yes, they are.
All right. So another common mistake people make is failure to ignore their weak parts. So we talked a little bit about this. We're talking about the chest press and how, like, man, my triceps are killing me. Like, that's probably the weak point in that lift. So, like, if you're at a point where you're like, I can't add any more intensity, I can't add any more volume, like, you're just totally stuck. Like, try to figure out where the weak link is, in your physique, because that's probably what's holding you back.
Yeah. And we're talking about bench press. It could be chest, it could be shoulders, it could be triceps.
Right.
All three of those are major lifters in that lift. Figure out which one's the weak one and work on it.
Right. The other common mistake, which is a big one that we definitely have to mention, is failure to track your progress inconsistently.
Yeah.
Like, you have to track it. You have to have some type of way to log your progress, y'all.
This is extremely common mistake. It's seeing it too much. It happens too much. People just go in there not even knowing where to start their weights because they didn't record their weights.
Right.
John Jay says definitely going to include rack pull my back workout. Outstanding.
Yes.
You can't beat rack pulls, baby.
I love rack pulls.
We'll delay until your video drops. You don't have to do that. I appreciate it, but you don't have to do that, brother. If you're ready to do rack pulls and it's up in your split, you do your rack pulls.
Absolutely.
Don't wait for my video to drop, baby.
So yeah, in today's age, there's so many ways for you guys to track your workouts. I mean, you have tons of fitness apps, books. Me and James have this logbook by Fitness Logbook.
Yeah.
I actually like the old paper method. I really do.
Me too.
So this particular one allows you to write the date, the workout name, what day of the week, the time, your exercises, and then it has sets 1 through 6. So you can even include your warm-up sets in there. You can see all his pages filled out. This particular one, I
still got my pen in there.
This particular one I actually really love because if you see this little QR code thing at the top, it actually pairs with an app that will take your written journal and put it into digital format. There are some times where I know James and I work out in like 3 different gyms. I don't always have the logbook, or it's not always convenient for me to have this, but being able to go in the app and say, well, what did I do on my bench press last time? Let me not like miss this opportunity to progressive overload. It's a really great way to have it accessible to myself at all times. And we will have a link for this particular logbook up in the description after if you want to get one.
Low Heath, can we get a few snaps of this? Really looks old school and I like to try it. You should try it. It's his outstanding exercise. You can't beat it for back mass or strength. Scroll through our shorts. There is one of me doing 800 and some pounds.
Yeah, I forget what I was doing in mine, but it was a lot for me as well.
Yeah.
So just type in rack pull into our channel and you'll find some videos on the rack pull.
Yeah, John Jay, if you want to see the rack pull before my next one drops, we have a few shorts up there where we're doing some stupid
Yeah.
work.
There's actually even a long video you filmed with Sam. Do you remember what that's called? You guys are doing rack pulls if you need more of a tutorial.
That's right. Yes, you are correct. With Sam Stokes.
Yeah.
I think it's titled Sam Stokes Top 6 Back Exercises.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Forgot about that.
All right. We have another comment. You guys are doing a really great job. I hope your channel receives more love and support from all the world. Keep going. Waiting for a series on cut next week, for sure. Next week.
Yes, and thank you. I appreciate that feedback. We're here for you. It is outstanding. This is good for you and helpful. So we're very happy about that.
Last question. All right.
Doesn't have to be the last one, John.
Keep
them coming, baby. How many sets on a particular exercise should you try and progressively overload? So I said it earlier with Terrence. I'll do 2 warm-up sets, 50 to 70%, and then I'm only doing 1 working set.
Right.
You know, like I said, you turn that light switch on. You don't have to turn it back off and turn it back on again.
Right.
Once you do your breakthrough set, you're done.
You're good.
But I will do 2, maybe 1 set before that. Full range of motion, 70 to 8 or 50 to 7% to feel the exercise and get ready to do my breakthrough one.
Yeah. Native Grit likes the seal row.
Oh, baby. That's a good one. I don't do it
I
often.
don't like the seal row, Native Grit. I feel like I'm getting crushed anytime I do some type of chest supported kind of row like the seal row or even T-bar rows get me, you know. But good exercise for sure.
It is good. John Jay, I also enjoyed pin press exercise that you saw you guys do. Outstanding, brother. For triceps, you can't beat pin
press. If you're having trouble with that lockout, then definitely the pin press is going to help you out for sure. Yeah,
if your sticking point is the end, the top of the bench press, pin press is going to fix that. 100%. And it's going to blow your triceps up, my man. Right. Great exercise. Glad you're enjoying it.
All right. So in terms of some practical applications, how can you plan for progressive overload? You know, get your logbook for one, and then try to gradually increase weight. So this might only be like 2.5 to 5% weight increases, you know, and it might only be every few weeks. Like you might be trying them for a while. So that's okay. Like take your time. A lot of times too, like you got to realize your tendons and your ligaments may not be as strong as your muscles too. So when you're doing these major jumps, your ligaments and stuff can't catch up. And so then you can, you know, lead to injury. So take your time and make that progressive overload gradual.
Right. And you said only 2 pounds a week. Let's think about this for 1 minute. 2 pounds a week for a year. That's 110 pounds.
Well, 2.5%, but yes, it could be as much as
I'm
two.
sorry,
Yeah,
you did say
2.5
percent.
pounds.
Even if it's 2,
Mhm.
you're only adding 2 pounds a week.
Right.
You're adding 110 pounds over that week. 52 times 2 is what? 110.
Yeah,
So 110
that's a
pound
lot.
increase over a year is huge.
Right. So
Huge.
take your time.
So take your time. Let it work. Yep.
Yeah.
John J says, I tend to progressively overload a set first. Then the next 2 sets, I lower the weight a little bit and try to get more reps. Is this jump volume? You like to do that?
So, John J, I like to do what I consider back off sets, but I will really only do a backup set if I'm calling the efficiency of my lift into question. Like if I didn't like something in my form, I did it a little too sloppy, maybe I didn't spend enough time through all 3 phases of the rep, that's when I'll usually do a back off set just to make sure I got quality lift, quality time under tension in there.
So let me break that down for you. If she didn't break through, she'll do a back off set.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to agree with that.
Right.
If you do your breakthrough set, what's supposed to be your breakthrough set, and you fall short,
right,
I would do a couple back off sets. If you do your breakthrough set and you get there and you added that weight or you added that rep, you're done.
You're done.
You don't need to do a back off.
Right.
That would be junk volume at that point.
Right. That's a good point.
But if you attempt your breakthrough and you come up short, then yeah, do some back off sets.
Right. So some other tips, you want to make sure you're monitoring your recovery. So if you're starting to feel really drained while you're trying to progressive overload, you might, it's okay to back off and adjust fire for a little bit. Like James said, he went to the gym that one day to train arms. They were still sore. He said, let me just chalk it up and not do that. It's okay to take a couple days extra if that's what you need.
Yeah.
Or even, if you're really beat up, take a week off, like go do something else for a little bit and then come back to it. Muscles are really made while you're resting, while you're recovering. Yeah. So you can't just keep going and beating yourself to death. You're not going to get the hypertrophy you're looking for.
Yeah, you do the damage and the trauma in the gym, then you need to recover from it. If you go in and do damage and trauma on top of your damage and trauma, you're not going to recover.
Right.
And I know it's hard. You want to get in there and go, 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 go. It's hard, but you got to recover, man. And you're going to get more stronger and more gains if you let yourself recover than if you don't. We got a couple more. Angel said, I enjoy watching the video with just body weight training. That's helpful for people who are starting, but not sure how to get started. Fantastic. It's also great for people who don't want to go to the gym if they're intimidated, perhaps.
Yeah.
Or they don't have time. They just want to do a home workout.
And so, Angel, one question that we get sometimes is, can you progressive overload with just body weight exercises? And the answer is absolutely, because you can definitely add reps in the sets, like going back to the whole training volume thing that we talked about.
Cut rest time.
Yeah, you can cut rest times. You can increase training frequency and do the exercises more often. You can even modify like the leverage points for how you're kind of performing the exercise. So maybe that's changing a hand position, an arm position to make it a little more difficult. And then, of course, you can adjust your tempos that you're lifting. You can add those isometrics that somebody asked about or commented in there.
Good stuff.
So there's a lot of ways to actually progressive overload body weight exercise if that's all you have.
Fantastic. Lohie's coming with another great question. Man, those are good questions. How do I measure? Yes, I have achieved the breakthrough set. Any metrics? Great question. And yes, we have the metrics right here.
Right.
Boom. Your breakthrough set, you added a rep or you added a weight. It's black and white. It's in your book.
Right.
You look it up. I did 225-pound bench press for 8. All right, today we're doing 9. No matter what, we're going to do 225 for 9 today, or I didn't hit a breakthrough.
Yeah, so along those lines, I would pick one of the techniques and stick to it for a while until it's like no longer effective for you. Because if not, like if every time, you're not just trying to, like, let's say week 1, you added weight, but then week 2, you're like, well, I'm going to superset. And then week 3, you're like, well, I'm just going to train shoulders 3 times a week this week. It's going to be impossible. You need to pick a technique and go with it for a while until you get kind of stagnant.
That's why you do your workout for 8 weeks. So
Right.
you give it a chance to do its thing. You give it a chance to progressively overload. That's why you don't change it up very often.
Right.
Mr. Toasters, how to speed up recovery super fast,
Question.
man. If we had that one, we'd all be doing it, baby. Stretch, ice, and fish oil is about all I can tell you, brother. But
I mean,
we all want to recover faster than we recover.
But you want to make sure you're not missing a supplement. We spent the last 2 weeks talking about the best mass building supplements. You want to make sure you're getting enough protein. You're getting the full like amino acid profile. So your BCAAs, your EAAs, all of that's going to help aid in recovery and speed it up. If you're missing part of that puzzle, as James says, like it is going to take you a little longer. So
yeah, if you're deficient in any nutrient, it's going to take longer. So make sure your nutrition's on point, your sleep's on point. But man, I wish we could all recover faster than what we do. It hurts, it's painful, it's part of the process.
Right.
And it's hard to let it recover because you want to get back in the gym, but let it recover first.
Right.
Man, let it recover first. John J, I had leg day yesterday on my progressive overload set. I got one less rep than last time. That is 100% a sign of overtraining. So you physically done something and then you go to the gym and you can't physically do it again. You are overtrained. That is the reason why you can't.
Sometimes too, John, look at your non-exercise activity. Like what were you doing in the days leading up to that lift? I know sometimes like maybe I'm at work and I'm going on a tour and this particular tour's got lots of stairs or hills or, like something that I did was different than normal. So you have to kind of take that all into consideration.
Yeah.
Like if you're walking in your building a lot more the day before one of your big lifts, like that's probably going to impact you. So
it won't impact me, but it might affect somebody less. Stellar.
Oh my goodness. Are you guys going to take this from him?
But that is the first technique or first signal to tell you overtrained, because you physically have done this strength feat. You hit your reps, you hit your weights, and then you come back another time and you do less. That's 100% overtrained, man. You got to rest a little bit more. Let it recover.
Yeah.
And like Camille said, we set up the Smith machine yesterday. Guess what? Today's a rest day.
Yeah, I didn't do legs. I was supposed to do legs today, y'all, but after having to squat and push and pull and do all this stuff to manipulate that heavy equipment, there was no way I was going in and hitting my intensity.
Yeah,
so.
I'm probably going to take a rest day tomorrow too, because that Smith machine beat us up. It wasn't just a Smith machine, y'all. We had to move the dumbbell racks. We had to move the hip abductor. That thing's heavier than the stinking Smith machine. So it's not just the Smith machine.
Right.
We got our butts kicked. Moving
we did.
100-pound dumbbells off the rack, back on the rack, off the rack, back on the rack, move the rack, move the dumbbell. I mean, it was a long day.
Right. All right. So
where are we at?
Some other like questions people have when it comes to progressive overload is just, what do I do when I plateau? It's kind of along the lines of what John Jay's talking about a little bit. You need to pause and think about, why are you plateaued? Like, is there a weaker muscle that you need to spend time on? Do you need to switch out the lift temporarily? Like if you were doing bench press, maybe do dumbbells for a while, or flat versus incline. There's lots of different ways. Like we said, we have a really good series on busting plateaus that you can take a look at.
Angel said, didn't he hurt himself running? Yes, I did, Angel. Yes, I did. I was in my cut, so that was part of my cardio. I was running sprints that day. I'm just about recovered, though.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the bruise is still a little bit there, but I deadlifted last week light. I only went to 135, but I think this week we're going to crank it up a little bit more, test out that hammy a little bit more. For those of you who didn't know, I tore my hamstring running sprints, a month and a half ago?
Yeah, almost.
It's about better, and I'm about ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
All right. Low Heath says, do you suggest a single muscle 5-day split for intermediate advanced gym rats? 100%. Yes.
Absolutely.
I said it earlier, the push-pull split's only going to work for a beginner.
Right.
Because you don't have enough time to put two muscles in one workout. You're going to fatigue before you get a thorough workout into two muscles if you're intermediate and advanced.
Yeah. If for some reason you can't work that 5-day split in and you are intermediate advanced, then you really need to crank up the intensity, y'all. So we have an entire playlist on intensifying techniques. But absolutely, if you're doing more than one muscle group and you are intermediate to advanced, without a doubt, you have to crank up the intensity.
Yep. Hey, and John said, yeah, I was feeling a little tired yesterday and didn't eat as much as I normally would before a workout. Both of those are symptoms of overtraining, John Jay. So
take some rest days, buddy.
Feeling tired and not having an appetite are symptoms of
Right.
overtraining. So I think we hit it on the hammer, the nail on the head there on that one, brother. I think you're a little bit overtrained. Take a couple rest days, come back and try to hit that lift again.
Right.
I'll bet money you'll hit it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, y'all. We talked about a lot in terms of progressive overload. We talked about adjusting the volume, intensity, frequency.
Weight.
We talked about advanced techniques for our advanced lifters and how you can, manipulate the tempos and do things like rest pause. So hopefully all of that helps. I'm hoping you guys are, enthusiastic and we'll go out there and purchase those log books and start progressive overloading tomorrow.
Yes.
But yeah, go.
Low Heath had the correct question. Is there any metrics to take subjectivity out of it? How is it objective that you hit your breakthrough set? It's objective. It's numbers. It's black and white. There's no subjective anything. There's no opinions. It's black and white. It's numbers. That's the only objective way to do it is numbers.
Well, and I like it too, because a lot of times, like, for instance, here was a leg day, and I know that with the leg press, like I ended at whatever weight, you're not starting too light. Like, so you don't want to do like 5-6 warm-up sets to get to the max weight. Like, you need to appropriately set yourself in the beginning to start with. So that helps you to remember, like, okay, well, last time I started way too light, had to go way too heavy. Let me start a little heavier this time to cut down on how much fatigue I'm doing to those muscles before I try my breakthrough set.
I said earlier, you got your starting weight right there. It's already written.
Right.
John Jay says, rest days for me, I promise. It's going to help you out, John Jay. Don't worry about the rest days. You need to recover and then get back at it, baby. Angel said, do you do toes in, heels out when toes out, heels in when you do leg curls? Oh, I do not.
I do not, but I do that on leg extensions, Angel, because depending on if your toes are in or out, it will change the emphasis of the leg extension to like the inner quad parts or the outer quad parts.
Yeah, I don't do it on leg curl, but I do it on calf raises.
Yes, man, that one's another one too.
Same reason. It just shifts your muscles, the angle of the muscle, and it hits different muscles different ways.
Right.
I also do it on leg extension. I haven't tried it on leg curl. I'm going to.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm going to try, Angel. Thank you for the suggestion. I've never done it on the leg curl. I don't even know why. I never thought of it.
All right, y'all. Well, we want to hear from you guys. I want to know how that progressive overload is going. So throughout the week, drop us comments. It can be on any video in the community section on one of the photos that James posts. Yep. But keep us informed on how it's going.
Yes, and keep it going, y'all.
Yeah.
You can achieve anything you believe. So believe in yourself and go out there and get it, right?
You got it.
Right.
And next week, we're going to talk all about how to do a proper cut, and we'll go through that for you guys. So thank you definitely for tuning in, everyone. We appreciate each and every one of you. One
more question. John J., do you use the same 6 to 10 reps overload method with isolation exercises? Great question. Mm-hmm. Yes, I do. So in general, and this is very general, once you get 10 reps, you add weight and go back to 6.
All right.
And then the following week, you do 7 reps with the same weight, 8 reps with the same weight, 9 reps with the same weight, 10 reps with the same weight. I just got 10 reps. It's time to add weight, go back to 6. And you continually do this with every exercise, every workout.
Yeah.
Great question.
So John Jay, actually, I've been experimenting with the little higher rep sets lately. So I've been allowing myself to go, 15 to 18 on some things, but definitely not more than 20 because, like James said, it starts to become endurance. But that is something that you can experiment with. But to James's point, if you are trying to progressive overload by increasing the weight, I would stick to that 6 to 10 rep range.
Justin, we appreciate you too, my man. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We had so many questions, so much interaction.
I love it.
It was awesome. Thank you all. We're here for you, and we'll be on here next week talking about
cutting.